much to Pharaoh's chagrin, to the present Pharaoh's chagrin, to the extent that he had to go and make this emergency council, basically like it is literally a parallel to the Wannsee Conference, because he comes to his advisors and he says, we have a problem, and it's the Jewish problem. There are too many of them.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do about them? And I know I'd like you to share with us the concept of who the three main advisors were.
Yeah. Well, we know from these very same sources that I cited, Me'am Loez and Sefer HaYashar, and even other works, that Pharaoh called these three counselors. One was called Job, another was Bilam, another was a young man, very young man. And by the way, Bilam was very young too. We have Reuel, who, of course, we know later is Reuel is the title or the alternate name for Yitro, who would become the father-in-law.
He actually
of Moshe.
had 7 names, I think.
Yes, in fact, the Arabs even have a different name for him. They call him El Shuaib, and he's a prophet. Yitro is a prophet for the Muslims too, and. So the point being is that they saw this literally burgeoning problem, and he says, "What do we do?" And Job says, "Well, you're Pharaoh. You do what is right in your own mind." So he straddled the fence, being politically correct and everything. And then Bilam says, "Do away with them. Get rid the land of them. We need to push them into the sea." Does that sound familiar? And then here steps forth Reuel. And he says, "Whoa, these are God's people." And then he outlines the history of Abraham's own adventures, going back to Nimrod and all the way, and how Abraham had overcome the fires of Kasdim. And he says, you can't do this to these people. They're God's people. And by the way, have you forgotten Yosef and what he had done? And of course, we know what eventually happened. Reuel was outvoted, and he had to head to what we now know as Midian. He became the high priest there.
So those 3 people were the inner circle of Pharaoh, right?
Yeah.
So Job remained silent, which is, in one perspective, according to Chazal, why he was visited with travail, why he was punished, because he remained silent. Yitro took himself and fled because he didn't want to be involved with it at all. And Bilam was the main instigator of the final solution. He's the one who came up with the idea of destroying the babies.
And later, his own sons were part of this conspiracy to rid Egypt of the Israelite people.